everyone. My name is J.R. Arsenault, and I want you to join and enjoy the journey that we're going on. Today we have Jaime Green, the Solar Queen. What's this show all about? It's all about coming into a more fullness of life. There's so many things that we can do, and I want to share a few things that I've come across that I think are very nice. We're going to explore a variety of topics, different people, but it'll always be people getting through adversity and triumphing. Jaime is one of those people. She is a wonderful friend who is a super mom, a super wife, and a great entrepreneur. She's got a great story, and we're about to go to hear it. Thank you for coming and enjoy the journey. Well, hi, Jaime. How are you?
Good. Good morning.
Thank you for being on. P.S. This is my first show, so don't
Yay.
everybody chuckle. Yeah, I know. But it's so nice to have you as the first one because Jaime is a friend of mine, as I said, and we're involved with a group that is learning how to do this stuff and perfect it. And and anyway, without any further ado, I gave you a nice little intro.
You sure did.
And it's all true. I could actually, those that know me know I can talk legs off a chair one at a time, or it's all at the same. I'll refrain from that. Jaime, tell me, what makes you happy? Why are you such a happy person?
I think I have a lot to be grateful for. And, I was born in Seoul, Korea, and I was adopted. So I had the privilege of coming to and growing up in America, being surrounded by family and having a lot of adventure in life. And then I met my husband, and we have 3 young kids that are the loves of my life. They drive me crazy.
There's no gray. I have no gray. That's another thing we have in common.
Oh, you can't see them? I have grays coming in.
Oh, your lighting is exquisite. So that's great.
So it's my family, my children, my husband, and the travels that we do. We enjoy going to Hawaii, so we try and go at least once a year. I know that sounds like a lot, but we forego other things that, we might spend our money on and go and experience life and travel together so that we can have those memories.
Well, it always wasn't this way, but you had a vision, priority, goals, challenges. How did this all start off once you got out of Korea, came over here, started doing your thing? You were a barista, if I remember right, at some point.
What's that again?
Am I remembering the right person? It might be age, but you were Starbucks barista. Am I remembering the right person?
Yes, oh I was.
I hope my tip was adequate.
I loved working at Starbucks, actually. What I didn't love about Starbucks is when you start working there, this was before they had 24-hour drive-through Starbucks. Yeah. I don't know if you have those in North Carolina, but I grew up in Washington State, in Puyallup, Washington, and then I moved to Tacoma when I was in college, and then I started working for Boeing. But before I got my job at Boeing, I got a job at Starbucks because I was anticipating on moving to Chicago to go to Bible college there. And I thought, well, I probably need to earn some extra income while I'm going to college, have a part-time job. So I might as well get a job at Starbucks because they're everywhere. And you can just, once you've been at Starbucks for a few months, I think it's 6 months, you can transfer over to another store and have no problems having a job. So I thought, well, that's smart, move to a big city. I love Chicago. I've actually ran the Chicago Marathon once.
So were you on the north side? or South
Um,
Side? Hope
no,
not.
it would have been downtown. It would have been
Oh
downtown
my.
Chicago. Like I want to say it's on the north side of the city.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I worked at Starbucks for probably 8 months and I loved it. I loved the energy of people. I was fascinated by the fact that people come in and get the same drink every single time.
Cool.
And people got to know me and I got to know them. And I had customers bring me gifts from their travels because, they'd come in the morning and the first person they'd probably see or talk to is me. So I always tried to make their day brighter, however I could. So I worked at
So
Starbucks. I loved it.
they were on
Um,
their way to O'Hare.
yeah. So,
Anyway.
so that's the story of my Starbucks days. My manager, she was great, and she was like, "You're just, you got such great energy." But I was not a morning person. It was really hard to work early in the morning, but I would just, throw a couple shots down of espresso, and I'd
Oh
be,
my.
I'd be okay.
Yeah. More buzz, less fuzz. No
Yeah.
calories that way, right?
But I don't drink coffee anymore.
Oh,
I've ditched coffee for the time being. So I've gone to mint tea.
that's cool. I do the teas, but I'm a New England guy, and so Dunkin' Donuts is probably the way I fly if I'm out on the road.
Yeah. Well,
Because they
Dunkin'
can,
Donuts, it's good. It's good coffee and they're good donuts.
yeah. So you did the thing in Chicago,
Well, I
and
know I never made it to Chicago.
oh,
Yeah. So my job at Starbucks was in Washington State.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah,
So
and
that's how.
I didn't ever get to Chicago because the Bible Institute that I was looking at, which was my Moody Bible Institute, they wouldn't let underclassmen or people that were new to the college live off campus, and they were all out of on campus housing because it's such a small, I guess, a small campus there on in the city. So I couldn't go. So I didn't move to Chicago. And I was working part-time at Boeing at the time because I took a voluntary, this is kind of a roundabout story. I took a voluntary layoff because Boeing was going through some financial hardships at the time. So I took the voluntary layoff. They gave it to me. I had like 3 months of, what is it called when you get laid off, but you get paid? I don't even remember
So
what that's
it's a
severance pay.
combination of it's severance package and it's oh my god.
Yeah. So I got the severance package. I got the Starbucks job part-time and I worked part-time for Boeing because they didn't want to let me go, 100%. So I learned that I wasn't going to Chicago. So I had my job review and they said, "Why aren't you working full time?" And so I told them the story and they said, "Well, we need an executive assistant. Why don't you just come work for us full time?" So I was an executive assistant to the flight training director and the flight standards director at the Boeing company.
Wow.
Yeah. Ripe age of 20 years old.
Wow. Well, it speaks well for you, just like getting accepted at DL Moody's legacy. I mean, that's certainly one of the leading schools of its type in the world, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so we're in Boeing,
Yeah.
and you're having fun and you're going crazy because you're being loaded up with all these projects that are challenging you, but you're overcoming, learning how to juggle things and tell
Yes.
people, oh yeah, I'm putting words in your mouth here, but anyway.
Yeah,
um,
I loved I loved the days that I worked at Boeing. I'm grateful that they sent me all over the world, paid for me to travel all over the world to help support and manage training programs for airlines who were buying new Boeing planes. So I would work with these airlines for 12 to 18 months, sometimes longer, depending on how large of a training calendar we had for them, how many people we were training and getting them through. So it was a great experience. And I loved it.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
listen, one thing that I'm going to turn the comments on, and
Oh,
we have Randy Chafee on saying hello.
Good
Hi,
morning, Randy.
Randy. Um, anyway, we are at a place where, I mean, you're set. People are saying, "Hey, you, you got that paycheck coming in once every 2 weeks at
Yeah.
like clockwork, and you're a double diversity candidate, a female minority, and so the EEO thing is going for you in addition to your work ethic."
It's funny though.
And
I
you were
never.
there. I mean, what? I mean, you had it made, girl. Didn't you want to just like sit back and go, "Okay, I'm planning my retirement now," or anything like that?
Well, it's so funny that you bring that up, that I'm female and minority, because I was adopted and I grew up in well, my parents are, they're white.
Mm-hmm.
I have a brother, their birth child is, obviously white. And then there's me from Korea. Then I have a sister who's half black, half Korean.
Oh
And then
my!
I have a brother that's Indian. He was adopted from India. So we didn't look anything like each other, obviously. But I never thought I didn't ever use the Asian female I've never used that as a reason to hire me, or, to say I'm going to do that. I just didn't ever use that. And my husband always says, you should push that. And I'm like, but it just I never have had to, I guess. And so, yeah, I was living the good life at the Boeing company, I even worked from home for a few years. So that kind of felt special because I wasn't bogged down and bothered by all the politics going on in the office. I actually was productive. I got work done, which I'm sure companies now through the COVID crisis are starting to realize people are more productive at home, can be more productive at home.
Yeah, we don't have to put our makeup on either, do we?
Oh, but I did this morning. I even coordinated my lipstick to go with my.
Yeah, I'm just like using a little, but we won't go there. That's for another story.
Yeah, so I worked at the Boeing company. I really had only a few job positions there that I held, and then that's when I met my now husband,
Cool.
who I met 11 years ago, and I thought I'm ready to start the next phase of my life. I want to have a family. At that point in time, I was 30 years old, and people were wondering when I was going to get married and start having a family. And I was like, this is my life. I'm going to live it how I want to. I'm not going to have someone tell me, oh, you should go meet someone and you should have a family. I guess I was always a little bit rebellious in that. And I always kind of just, what's that phrase where you walk to the beat of your own drum or something? I just kind of did my own thing. I never really conformed. I tried not to conform to too much in my life, but maybe I'm a little rebellious.
I think that song is the JR theme song. So I'm very familiar with it. Okay, so we've got that going on.
Yep.
No money coming in except for the hubby because you've left your job.
Yep, I retired.
So how did you get this vision? How did this come to you about, okay, I'm going to make a side gig and it's going to become a passion, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be on Wild Man shows live online at some day? I mean, how did this progress?
Yeah, I think it's been my pursuit of I really love entrepreneurship, and I love stretching myself. Like,
Nice.
I've taught myself how to play the guitar. I taught myself how to play the piano. I enjoy being creative. And so you and I share a common passion, which is photography, I've learned. Yeah. You need to do a whole entire show on just you and your photography.
Well,
but when I moved to California, so just so everyone knows, my husband and I met through eHarmony, and we did the long distance dating for a year. And my children are waking up, so if they come running into the room, I apologize in advance. I instructed them. I said, when you wake up, I'm probably going to be on a show and you're going to have to go and quietly turn on the TV and get yourself some breakfast. So let's see if they follow those instructions or remember.
They're going to need Screen Actor Guild cards or they can't come on my set. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I moved to California, I didn't know anybody. And I had purchased a camera and I decided to learn photography. And then I started to learn how to do side gigs. I would read books. I would watch videos that I could that were on YouTube about how to take pictures. And because of my travels, I had taken lots of beautiful pictures and people would always comment on how beautiful they were. Nice. So this time I thought, well, maybe I'll take pictures and make some money. So I started a photography business. I was dog running and dog walking in the streets of San Francisco. People actually paid me good money to run their dogs up and down the hills of Potrero. Potrero Hills, if you haven't been to San Francisco, has some of the steepest hills in the city and gorgeous views as well. Nice. So that's what I did with my time. My husband still works for the city. And that's what I was doing. I was side gigging, I created a photography business. I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear my daughter in the background? She's kind of.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a cattle. It's like feed me.
I need her brothers to help her. So I did that for a while, and then I learned about digital marketing, and that's how I met Joe Soto. Or flash forward, I have kids. I actually learned how to trade the stock market.
Nice.
It's a good skill to have. I had zero literacy on the financial markets. And so I learned through Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is a long story. But that, I did that, but it was really hard to do with, 2 kids at the time. So I just kind of took a break and I decided to learn about digital marketing after my daughter was born. Hi, Doug. Okay. Good morning to you. And then after that, that's where I discovered Joe Soto and messaged him one Thanksgiving morning 2 years ago, and asked him about if he had any digital marketing courses, and he said, I do.
Wow, so that was an understatement.
What's that?
That was an understatement with Joe and digital marketing. He's like the guru of that to me.
Yeah, he is, and he's incredible. So I learned to do that. And then at the same time, that's when I was introduced to solar. And so I merged the two together and created a personal brand, started branding myself, Jaime Green, the Solar Queen, that a friend had said, oh, Jaime Green, the Solar Queen. He's from Australia. And so he had this, Australian accent when he said it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. He's like, you just gotta embrace it. And so I did. And I've been building my solar business.
That's one homeowner at a time. I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but that's how to get a hold of her. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's how you can reach me, or on all the social medias, except for I'm not on TikTok. Probably should be, but I started learning how to help homeowners go solar and save on their utility bill, and then also help the planet and gain energy independence. So I've been doing that for coming up on 2 years.
So, okay, this thing with solar has intrigued me for a couple decades. Tell me, why would a person for environmental reasons, yeah, but the old "what's in it for me" thing. Why would you? It's an expensive proposition to get into that. And there's a changeover, and it's something new. It's like being a snake and taking an old skin off and having a new skin type of thing. What's the deal with solar? Why is it such a cool thing to get into, other than environmentally friendly?
Well, I think the first thing I think a lot of homeowners and people in general, because this applies to business owners too. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they realize how, I don't want to say inexpensive, because it's not inexpensive, but if you were to compare the amount of money that you're going to spend on your electricity bill over the next 2 to 3 decades compared to what you're going to pay for your solar system that's going to power your life and your business for the next 25, 30 years, the savings is huge. I mean, in states like California, I know, what do you pay? What are you paying per kilowatt hour in North Carolina right now?
Oh my God.
On average.
I didn't do my show prep.
That's okay. No, JR, here's the thing. Most people don't know what they're paying.
Right.
They just pay it because they have to.
It's $130 a month, even though that's TMI.
Yeah, no, I mean, and to some that might be a lot of money, and some it's not so much money. But I'd rather not pay $130 to the utility company. I'd rather invest it into myself and my own solar system. And so that's a lot of the reason why people go solar. Once they learn the cost, the cost benefit, and the fact that with financing now, in having entered into the solar world, people can go solar for no money out of pocket. They can start saving immediately as soon as they get their interconnection, which is, a 3 to 4 month, maybe 5 month process, depends on the project and the utility companies and stuff. But once they see the cost savings, that it becomes a no-brainer. So the solar equipment payment, it hopefully replaces the vast majority, if not all of the, just a second, JR. Go. Close the door, please. Thank you. She's upset because her iPad didn't charge all the way, so she can't play her iPad.
Planning is everything.
I thought it was all charged, plugged in and charged. How long she stays upset.
So we were talking about a cost benefit analysis on the solar.
Yeah. So when you get solar, the objective is to cover your usage 100%, if not more. Nice. You can get more solar power. Some utility companies will let you go up to 110% offset, which means, say a homeowner used 10,000 kilowatt hours in the last 12 months, they would let them go, to 11,000 kilowatt hours before they'll cap the net energy metering credits that a homeowner can accumulate. Anything beyond that, they'll say you have to use it or lose it. We will not give you net energy metering credits. So it's kind of like those rollover minutes. You can roll them over so much, the unused kilowatt hours, you can roll them over to use at a later date, which is how solar works, because the sun is out longer in the summertime. So your solar system is going to produce the most amount of energy then, but you're going to bank it so that you have it to use in the wintertime when the sun's not producing as much energy. So the goal is to eliminate your utility bill, or at least greatly reduce it, just the electricity cost, and replace it with a much more less expensive solar equipment bill. And then once that equipment's paid for, then your energy really truly is free. You still pay like a connectivity fee, which varies from utility company to utility company, but on average, I would say it's between $10 and $25 a month. I think the $25, $30 is the most I've seen, but on average, it's okay. We'll say $15 just to say average, but for us here in California, it's about $10 a month.
Nice
to stay grid tied and everything. So
we've got a couple things going here. We've got the sun giving us energy that we are using, as opposed to here in Charlotte, it's Duke Energy. Yeah. And where we aren't enlightened, like some areas where the Duke Energy hasn't come up to, they're going to finance, I'm not aware of it anyway, that they're going to finance having installations, and then rather than pay that, in my case, $130 a month for them for usage, I'm really paying for what they put in.
Well, it's not the utility companies that are financing the solar system. They're private lenders or credit unions that people can apply for. So just like getting a car loan or a mortgage, it's a third party But so that's who you would pay. You wouldn't pay the utility company.
Oh,
The
okay.
utility the solar companies work with the utility companies closely for approval and interconnection. Because when you have solar, most people want to be living off the grid, but it's very rare that you can actually do that. It's very, very rare. And so you still need to be grid tied, because once the sun goes down, I'm moving to Phoenix in January. Congratulations. Yes, solar is very good in Phoenix, Arizona. So let me know if I can help you, Doug. I'd be happy to. I can help people in many states, North Carolina being one of them, as well as Arizona, Colorado, Texas, Florida, South Carolina. Some of the New England states I can help. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got this thing going on where there's a JV joint venture with the power company and the finance company.
And the city, like all the city planning or the permitting department, building inspection. It's multiple players making it happen for the homeowner.
Okay, so we've got this going on. What, as far as if I'm making more in the summer, and if I can't roll over everything because it's like a lot of stuff, with some cell phone minutes back in the day, they'd cut you off, and they didn't, it was sort of a monthly bucket that they'd empty.
Yep.
When you have too much, and when you're going to forfeit it, does that just disappear, or can you assign that to someone else?
It's if you have it. If say somebody has, say that same person that had used 10,000 kilowatt hours and their system was designed they wanted to get more. Say they were planning to get an electric car, but they didn't get it that year. And they had their system oversized to say 130% offset instead of 110. That difference, the gap between 110 and 130, if they didn't use it, the utility company is not going to give them. A lot of times they'll issue credits, like a money credit to the homeowner for unused kilowatt hours. Back when like solar was the early adopters of solar, and they would say, oh yeah, I got solar and I'm getting $100 paychecks from the utility company because, they were way overproducing. Utility companies they did that for a reason. One, to get people to adopt solar, because the utility companies also understand that we need to work on moving to renewable, sustainable, clean energy. The problem so far is the utility companies haven't learned how to store all that extra energy, like energy from the sun. But so the homeowners that overproduce the energy, if it's beyond the 110% offset, that's just here in Northern California is the 110%. They will not get that credit for the gap, but they will get, if they have their system sized properly, they'll be able to roll it over every month. And then every year, once you've a year after getting solar, you settle up with the utility company. It's called true up, that's what we call it, is a true up. And it's just a moment in time where they say, let's see how much this homeowner overgenerated. Let's see how much they used. How much do they pull from the grid during, when the sun was sleeping on the other side of the country or the world. There's all this stuff that goes into net energy metering. And okay, go. My goodness, my kids they know when I'm live, they can just get away with anything. So you know what they're having for breakfast?
What?
Ice cream.
Man, I'm so glad you didn't say butter pecan, or we'd be off on a rabbit trail.
Oh, blah, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, well. Motherhood.
So the homeowners will settle up with the utility company. And that's why that's the other part of solar, that to educate the homeowners on how to start load shifting, which means, during the peak hours, don't turn everything on. If you do what you can with what you need, but, run the dishwasher after 9:00 at night or before 4 p.m. So that you're not, especially in the wintertime, because once the sun goes down, your solar system stops producing and you're debiting from your credits that you've built up, but you're going to be debiting them at the peak hour kilowatt hour rates. And those are hold a higher value than the non-peak hours, because most utilities move homeowners over to the time of use rate structure once they go solar. So not all kilowatt hours are created equal when you go solar. And even if you don't go solar, a lot of utility companies are moving homeowners over to time of use, which is a much more expensive cost of, they've structured it so it's more expensive to the homeowners. So people are seeing bumps in their utility bill without doing anything, they're not changing their habits.
Yep. It's like just a simple economics 101 supply and demand thing. There's if there's a big demand, we're going to charge you more. And if there's not a big demand, we're going to give you a break.
Yeah. And the utility companies have figured this out. And a lot of times they're monopolies. I don't know. Does North Carolina have any other energy providers for electricity other than Duke?
No.
Yeah. So Duke has your hand tied behind your back. Yeah. You have to pay them. You have no other option unless you go solar.
You will pay us. You will pay us.
So that's why a lot of people go solar, not only for the cost savings, but energy independence. So they're not solely relying on their utility company to provide their energy for them.
Absolutely.
And it increases the value of your home because it becomes an asset. If you think about it, does the utility company ever pay you money?
Unless if you have stock, no.
No. Yeah, they take all your money. Not all of it, but some people have a lot of money taken from them because their energy usage is so high, and so they get charged more for that. They're penalized for that. So energy independence, having an asset on your rooftop, your own energy supply, for electricity only. I can't do anything about gas unless you move everything over from gas appliances to electric, but it's huge. It's huge. Yeah.
I was going to say Beano, but that's another subject also. But I was thinking about it, and we talked about this before, about there's also, it's not just this thing on your southbound exposure producing energy, but there's a storage medium also where, and then you get into cost efficiencies as how big a pool do I want to have to pop this reserve electricity in versus how much of a, how much of a pool can I afford? And so it's sort of a trade-off. And I guess it's a trade-off also with the utilities are being good citizens, but they're also being smart because they don't have to do power generation enhancement because we're doing it on an individual basis and financing it. What a great world. We get to charge these people money and they're paying for the privilege. So it's a win-win for them.
It is. And people say, well, what if everyone goes solar? And what will happen to the utility companies? Not everyone can go solar.
No.
It's just the truth. I mean, not everyone can, but for those who can, and the business owners that can, or the farms that can, especially, businesses and that have use large amounts of energy. I mean, they're the bigger drain on the utility company, not so much the individual households. But some of these businesses can have utility bills that are more per month, more than what people pay in a year. Easily. Some, depending on the industry that they're in, it could be tens of thousands of dollars a month that they're paying on their electricity bill.
Well, I was involved with back in the day. I was involved with consulting in high-tech manufacturing. And when you get into presses that are pushing hundreds of thousands of tons and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the power cord coming into the place is like this. And, they've got their own little substation almost. And so I get it. And
so there's ways to generate that energy, with technology, ground mounts, rooftop mounts for those warehouses, factories, and everything. Those are longer projects, but that's what I'm getting into. Okay, so
Nice.
Doug says, what about, do you see Doug's comment about HOA rules? Because that's a good question. I'd like to address that
Oh
actually.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, do you want to show it up there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I was in another still learning this stuff, folks. You're
Yeah,
watching an
no,
old guy with training
good.
wheels.
HOA rules and regulations. What about them? Well, I don't know about in Arizona or, but in California, I think it's a nationwide rule. I'll have to look into that for you, Doug. But in California, HOAs cannot prevent people from going solar.
Yay.
Some of them will have rules saying you can't have them on street facing unless going any other plane increases the cost by like 10% or something. So there's certain HOAs will have rules about what the homeowners can and cannot do. Sometimes the conduit needs to be painted the color of the roof, like if you have a roof tile roof, or the shingles are black and the conduit's silver, they might have ask you to paint the conduit. They want to know usually how much or what color the solar panels are, because there's different colored. So there's dark blue, there's black on white, different kinds of panel colors. And so, yeah, it's really knowing what your HOA requires, but they should not be preventing homeowners from going solar because of all the government, like, local governments, the states and whatnot, moving forward with the solar initiative and getting more people solar powered.
Cool.
So
I'm a homeowner and I want to do this, but I am really scared because I've got an awesome house and it's going to rip everything up and it's going to be something different. And I kind of like the southern exposure. And I've got 3 really expensive Velux windows that open electrically. And what about people like that? How would you address that?
I would go and show them pictures of really fancy homes, really big, beautiful homes that are green built, and that have the solar power on them. And, if people have property and they don't want to have their roof penetrated with solar panels, and it's not the solar panels that are penetrating the roof, it's the mounting hardware. So the hardware, they go out. And I'll answer that question too. Doug, you've got great questions.
Didn't want to ignore you, Doug. He's going to be another guest on my show in the future. He's got a great story.
Yeah, I'm excited. Doug's going to be on my show in December, so I'm excited to have him on. So there are mounting brackets that the racking bracket, it goes into the roof, into the studs of the home. So, they take out these, I don't know, my dad was in construction, but those red line things that you post them in, you snap them, and it makes a plumb or straight line. Yeah. And then they measure out where the rafters are, and then they actually put those into the mounting brackets, and then they lay the panels onto the mounting system. So the panels are actually quite thin. They're not very heavy. They're bigger, depending on the size of wattage of panel that you're getting installed. They can be bigger, and they can just be, I would say the average is probably 3x5 for each panel. So
I have a question. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but fertile mind here, or whatever it is. When I investigated a couple of years ago, they had some like shingle looking, where the roof looked like a roof and not like something that was part of NASA. So are those still there, or are they inefficient, which is what I suspected? Or
I've only seen 2 rooftops with those. There's actually one. I actually should go knock on their door and ask them about it, or maybe I should just do a little research. But it's not widely adopted yet. They have to actually like inlay the shingled solar panels, but that's a lot of components.
Yeah, there's a lot of little holes they got to drill to pull together, as opposed to some big grid where you have to have a feed through that's
Yeah,
waterproof. Some
there's
place else
that.
to
It's
leak.
I don't know. I don't know that they've been around or they're not adopted as well as just the standard solar panels. There's
Yeah,
two different kinds of inverters really on the market. Micro inverters, which are the inverters are what takes the DC energy, the power, DC power that your solar panels and solar system produce and generate from the sun. And it converts it into alternating current, which is what's running through our homes. You go and
nice.
plug into the wall, that's alternating current. The inverters will convert that energy so it's actually usable. And so the micro inverters, that conversion is done at the location of the panel. Like it's right there in the panel. And then it runs through conduit into your main panel to then be dispersed into your home. So that's one way. They're not, and then kind of the benefit of microinverters is there's really no single point of failure. Like one panel might go down, one inverter might poop out on your solar system, so you're going to have continuous power during the day, but you'll be able to isolate that. But then you also have to have someone come out and fix the inverter or troubleshoot and all of that. So, and you also lose a little bit of the energy in that conversion because there's several, conversions happening and traveling through the conduit to your home. The other one is called string inverters, but they use power optimizers. So they're kind of like the micro inverters because they're underneath each panel, but then it will be a string and it'll go out to a central inverter, and that's where it all is converted and then dispersed at the house.
Doug just said something funny.
He did. I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting really technical.
I apologize to our vast audience. I'm a techno geek, and I was going to start talking about square wave inverters, and I thought about modulation of the electricity, so you know which panel is because each have a slightly different frequency. That's
some people,
blah, blah, blah.
It's so funny that you say that.
Let's bring it down to ground level. Thank you, Doug, for pulling me back into the reality.
But Doug did ask about whether or not panels are going to be less unsightly.
Yeah.
It's, they've come a long way in the design. And so some people aesthetically want black on black panels. So it looks like just a sheer black panel. So you can get those type of panels. There are different panels that they're black on white, which the white works as, the back side of the panel. The sun will hit that white backing and it produce energy on the back end of the back side of the panel. So there's kind of cool technology with that with certain manufacturers of solar panels. But I can't say that they're going to get any more unsightly. Just pray that your house in Phoenix is south facing. The south facing is on the back side of your house where no one else can see it. That's what happened with our house.
Wow.
No one knows we have solar on our rooftop because our street facing is east facing. So we don't have panels on the front side.
Yeah.
Because that was the biggest thing why my husband was like, no, I don't want solar. They're ugly.
Yeah, because they look like those things from 20 years ago, back when we were kids, or at least you were.
Yeah, they look like the satellites out floating in space.
It looks like a NASA thing is there or something, like these solar water heaters that they had that people that thank God those are unpopular. And
they look like luggage racks.
It was an early environmentally conscious thing, but oh my God, you want to talk about putting a billboard up in your neighborhood, so that's why the HOA stepped in.
Yeah.
Some people have no consciousness of how things look good.
Yeah, that's true.
So let me ask you a question. You're in California. I'm in North Carolina. I'm going to put that banner up again to get a hold of you, but how does this work? I mean, okay, I want to do it. I'm ready to pull the trigger. I like Jamie. I'll shop her with 15 other people. No, I'm just kidding. But
You can.
That's fine. I'm sure you're very competitive because you play to win like me. But how do you do this? How do we engage the process to make it happen?
So it really is. Hi, honey. Oh, I'm really sorry. Can you go see if you can play your brothers? Can you play my phone? Okay, can you go out in the other room? I'm almost finished. You want to sit with me? Okay. It really happens over Zoom, email and Zoom. Like I have all of my appointments, all of the appointments I've had this year, except for one, have been over Zoom.
Cool.
So we do it virtually. A lot of it just starts with getting the information about the homeowner's house, the actual house, because that's important. You need to know what kind of roof they have, what kind of material it is, how old it is, the main service panel, what ampage it has. Is it an older original panel that was built before 2000? Because a lot of times the building code, after the year 2000, a lot of the building codes required 200 amp main panels for new construction.
Yay.
But some houses need
Doesn't
up
cost that
from
much more.
200 amps to 400 amps because they have so much power coming into their house.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of open amps that are necessary for the inverter and for a backup battery and stuff. So that all is taken care of. That's determined, confirmed and determined after a site survey. So before people get to site survey, though, it's these questions that need to be answered. How much energy are you using? How's your house set up? How many people live there? Are you planning on adding anything to your home in terms of more square footage, air conditioning? Believe it or not, a lot of people here in California still don't have air conditioning.
Oh my.
I know. I
How's
live
that
in Northern
working?
California, so we don't use our air conditioning like people in Central Valley or in Southern California, probably, because we just don't. We have the nice ocean air come over the hills and
I
cool us
love it.
down every single night. So it's kind of nice. But air conditioning, electric cars, hot tubs, people have this is like the record year for hot tubs to be installed this
Oh
year.
my.
I
Well,
have
I
a
mean,
friend
there's nothing else to do, so let's hang out in the back and watch the outdoor TV
yeah,
and
that's
do
exactly
whatever.
that's exactly what's happening. But hot tubs are a huge energy drain. So,
Oh yeah.
that's a valid question. I've even have homeowners who got electric cars. They did not understand that charging their car at home was going to increase their usage. It's true.
Duh.
Yeah, they just plugged it in and thought, I think some people just think it's free. I don't know. But so
Wow.
these
It's
are
like having a
questions.
quart of milk and pouring some in the cereal and going, oh, there's less. No, it's there.
They couldn't understand why their bill went from an average of $250 to $700 a month.
Yikes.
Yeah. And then I realized when I was leaving their house that they had one of those electric BMWs
Oh
charging
man.
in their house. And they probably weren't aware of the time of day that you should charge your electric vehicle, not during the peak hours. So
Yeah, well, with some of them, you don't even plug them in. There's a pad and you go over, but that's
oh,
something Doug and I will
another
talk about maybe. Doug's a big car guy like me. But anyway, so we have all that going, and
Yep.
then it's just simply a matter of running the numbers and the application. Like it's not buying a house for sure, but it's sort of that same process where you just go through if the person cash, credit, and career, just check out them and see if they're credit worthy because
That's for financing. If people want to finance it, they can
yeah,
definitely do that. If they are like, nope, I want to just pay cash, then they're going to save some money on paying cash because you just do when you pay with cash. Just like you go out and buy a car, you pay cash, you're going to save on all the financing fees and interest. But even then,
they
the
hate
interest rates most people get are 2.99%. No money out of pocket, so there's no financial risk to get started. But to get to that point, obviously I meet with the homeowner over a Zoom kind of like this, and we would just
nice.
talk about their plans, how long they're going to be in the home. Because if they're going to be in the home for a year or two and then move, it's probably not a good idea. Just because I would say the average system size that I have helped homeowners go in California is about $30,000, so it's a lot of money.
Yeah, but when you multiply that 130 times 12,
yeah,
and I haven't increased my asset,
that's right,
1 penny.
And your rates are going to continue to go up, and you have no control over that.
You think it's going to be more for energy with this? Well, we won't even talk about politics, but
all I can talk about is what I know that is certain, and that's that our energy costs are expensive, and they're going to continue to go up, especially in California. I think the New England states are very expensive. You said you grew up there.
Oh yeah.
They're expensive. So that's how it has happened. And people are open to it. They don't have any problem meeting online. Yeah. Once they see the proposal, I get the proposal out to them, and they decide that they want to move forward, then it's just pre-qualifying them if they're going to finance it. And it takes 30 seconds to pre-qualify them, which is kind of crazy. Oh, yeah. And then the finance companies send them, the homeowner, the loan docs to sign. I don't ever see them. And then I prepare their solar agreement, and then I send that to them to DocuSign, and then that's that. Like, it's really, really quite easy and simple, and I try and make it the least stressful for the homeowner. When it comes.
Easiest sale you made, theoretically. Okay, I want to do it. So it's right before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the time frame on the install? When can I have my free electricity, girlfriend?
It varies from utility company, and state to state, because once they go solar, so once my job is done in terms of getting everything arranged and set up for them, then it goes to be processed and a site survey happens. Usually that's within the first week of signing. They'll go out and they'll do a site survey, and then they go and they start doing the engineered drawings, and that can take a week to 3 weeks. So that whole first process could be 3 to 4 weeks. And then the homeowner will see the drawings and make sure they approve on the layout. And then that goes to the city or county for permitting.
And the HOA.
And the HOA, yeah, the HOA as well. That can take, for the permits, that could take a day. It could take several weeks depending on where you live. If you live in San Francisco or the Bay Area or California in general, it can take a couple of weeks. It's just the way it is, and there's nothing I can do. If you're in another state, it might be over the counter and just, here you go.
Bureaucracy at work. What can I say?
The homeowner does nothing. They don't really need to do anything. We'll handle it all for them. Cool. So then the permits gets issued. We get all the materials, and then we schedule the installation. And if they need a main panel upgrade done, or if they're having roof work done or anything like that, then obviously that will tie into the project timeline.
Yep. Prepare the foundation first.
Yeah. I've had homeowners get new roofs, and we had to wait for the roofing to be finished to be able to install. And then the roof was so new that we had to let it settle, kind of,
because it's got to glue together,
break in before we could actually install the solar panels, the mounting hardware. So we had to give it another week for it to just kind of settle in. Yeah. And then, if they need a main panel upgrade or anything done, they have to, we have to work and coordinate with the utility company for power, to cut power to the house to safely change out the equipment or the panel. And so it's a lot of coordination with different third parties. We're all working together. There's a project coordinator assigned. There's me communicating back and forth and just being aware of where things are at in the project. At that point in time, it could be 2 months, and then the actual installation takes a day to a couple of days, depending on how complex and big the project is. And for a business owner, it's the same thing. It's the same process.
Yeah, even with a re-roof or something drastic, putting a sub panel in to, create the capacity or whatever. Mm-hmm. I guess the important question is, okay, this is going to take a while, but I don't have to move out, do I? I mean, like, I don't want to be in the hotel, although it's pretty
No, it's
cool.
not like a kitchen remodel or, where,
Yeah, it's like a remodel
yeah, it's a
without getting into
construction
bed.
job at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of
And
it.
then once the panels are installed, and then everything's done on the house. If they are having a backup battery installed or a main panel upgrade or whatever, then once that's done, the city or county comes back out and they inspect it. Hopefully,
Cool.
it passes on the first go. Sometimes they fail for silly reasons, or not. I don't want to say silly, for reason or like validated reasons, but reasons that the inspector just didn't like the way this was installed, or like the electrical panel was not waterproofed well enough, which
That
is,
never happens. Inspectors calling things because of their opinion instead of what the NEC is or whatever, Anyway,
so that happens. The final inspection happens. And as soon as that happens, then it goes on to push it along to the utility company to grant the homeowner interconnection or permission to operate.
and then it's soup.
And then they turn the system on, and then they're solar powered. And depending on what time of year they go solar, like for anyone going solar now, you would probably anticipate a permission to operate probably February, March timeframe, just, to be realistic.
It's a big project, but it's something that's got life implications, lifestyle.
Yeah, you want it done safely and you want it done correctly. So
yeah, it's just my house you're messing with.
it's your house.
We got to do this safely because we don't like litigation.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been the fastest hour I've had in forever. I looked at my clock and I'm like, oh my God. And it's been delightful. I highly encourage everybody, stay on for a little while afterwards. You know the drill.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage people to, I'm taking Jamie's stuff down here, but please reach out to her if you have any further questions, because she's just as charming and delightful here as she is on the phone one-on-one. She's a great, great friend, and just love her as a friend. But thanks again.
Thanks, JR. And thanks for having me be on your inaugural show.
So anyway, that's Jamie. We've got some people coming up that are going to be scheduled. This is so new that the schedule, and it's the holidays. I picked the best time to launch things, don't I? But today's the day. And we're going to be doing a lot of exciting programs with some really great people on different subjects. We've got some wonderful people in photography, but I've also got people that are in personal security. Doug Wing that was on earlier, Little Giant Ladder Company. He's got a great story of him and his dad and how they built something from the garage to an empire. And best ladders out there, best value. Anyway, there's a lot of different aspects. I just hope that you like the show and that you comment as Doug did, and a subscription would be lovely. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate the time, and certainly enjoy the ride.